The beauty of the Himalayas is unmatched. It has serene mountains, fresh air, the lovely clear waters. All are so soul touching. Nestled in these Himalayas is Uttarakhand, called as the Devbhumi or the land of gods, famous for the temples of Lord Shiv. At the end of April 2022, I traveled to this wonderful place of Uttarakhand. On the first day, I took a flight from Pune to Dehradun and from there traveled to Rishikesh by road. After having a simple yet tasty dinner, I went on to the Lakshman Jhula, which was nicely lit up. This is one of the famous destinations in Rishikesh. After visiting this, I retired for the day. The second day was reserved for travel by road from Rishikesh to Chopta, a distance of 160 kilometers. On the way was a stopover at Devprayag, a beautiful site of the meeting of Bhagirathi and Alagnanda rivers. The water of these rivers was so clear and pure. It was simply amazing. Before reaching Chopta was a stopover at Makkumat, the winter base of Tunganath. Tunganath is one of the Pancha Kedars, that is the 5 main temples of Lord Shiv in this region. The main temple of Lord Tunganath is located at an altitude of 14,000 feet, which is covered by snow for 6 months. So during this period of 6 months and in the winter time, the worship is done at Makkumat. On the third day, early morning, we started for the trek from Chopta to Tunganath and from there to Chandrashila. The total distance was around 4.5 kilometers. Tunganath is the highest Shiva temple in the world, located at an height of 12,500 feet. I felt a sudden surge of happiness with the glimpses of the first snow-covered peaks on the way. The beautiful flowers of the rhododendrons made this walk especially memorable. And wow, this was the first glimpse of the Chaukhamba peak, the most beautiful peak of this region. Of all the peaks, Nanda Devi, Panchachuli, Bandarpuj, Kedarnath and Nilkant, as well as Chaukhamba, I felt Chaukhamba was the most beautiful peak. Chaukhamba means there are actually 4 pillar-like structures for this mountain, and so Chau means 4 and Khamba means pillar. That is how this peak has got its name. Though the distance to the top up to Tunganath is just 3.5 kilometers, yet the entire walk is through a steep climb, and so it becomes a little bit tiring by the time you reach on the top. So here I am at the Tunganath temple. The temple right now is closed and will open shortly in the next 2-3 days. But that's what made this trek more interesting, because there were very few people in this region. And we could actually feel the silence and the peace of this area. The next trek route was up to Chandrashila, which was 1 kilometers ahead of Tunganath. This is also a clear guided path. However, if there is snow in this area, then it becomes difficult and you'll need a guide here. The elevation of Chandrashila is more than 13,000 feet. Here too you will find some rare varieties of rhododendrons. Locally this is called as boorage plant and it has a lot of medicinal properties. You will also get syrups of this flower. So here I am at the Chandrashila temple and this is basically the moon god temple here. And the best part here at this top, at the peak of Chandrashila, is that you get a 360 degrees Himalayan views of this region. It is simply amazing. After spending some time at the top, we started the descent again by the same route and through these beautiful rhododendron trees with full flowering. And at Chopta, we came across these Himalayan langurs. Due to the cold climate here, these langurs have a lot of fur on their body. The next day we drove for a short distance from Chopta to Sari, which is the base of the Devriyatal trek. We came across a few macaques sitting in this region. The Devriyatal trek is roughly 2.5 kilometers from the base. Again, steep but not as much as Tunganath. Took us roughly 1.5 hours to climb up to Devriyatal, and we had planned to stay on top for the night. You get some tenting and basic homestay accommodations on the top. This region has beautiful trails surrounding this Devriyatal lake. In this region, you will have to pay a small entry fee and also some camera charges. The Devriyatal lake is famous for its beautiful Himalayan reflections. We spent the evening in a relaxed mode watching the sunset. Early morning, we came out near the lake to watch the beautiful reflections. Unfortunately, the weather was not so clear, so we could not catch the glimpses of the mountains. Due to the haze, the Himalayan peaks were just a little bit visible in the morning. This region also has a lot of birds, and so we took the advantage of the morning time and did a little bit of bird watching. After enjoying some relaxed time on the top at the Himalayan camp Devriyatal, we now started our descent back to the base village Sari. At around noon, we started our drive from Sari village to Ukhimat, which is the winter base for worship of Lord Kedarnath and Mother Maheshwar. This is the small town of Ukhimat. Outside the temple of Ukhimat, you will find people selling some puja thalis which contain offerings like flowers and other articles to be made to Lord Shiv. In the evening, you will find an aarti being performed of Kedarnath and Mother Maheshwar in this temple. Today was a full day drive from Ukhimat to Joshimat, and on the way we were going to stop over at two ancient temples, one which was Kalimat and the other was Gopeshwar. So here I am visiting Kalimat, the ancient temple of Mahakali or Goddess Kali, which is one of the famous Shakti Peeths. Here you will also find the Shri Yantra being worshipped. This is the temple of Gopeshwar, a very ancient temple, which is the winter worship place of Rudranath, one of the Panchakedar temples of Lord Shiv. You will find the Trishul here, which is also quite ancient. The next day, early morning, we drove from Joshimat to Kalpeshwar. The road was not so good, so it took a little bit longer, though the distance was not much. This area is quite scenic with a lot of pine trees along the route. This is because the altitude is not much. It is around 7,200 feet, and so you will find a lot of green cover here with flora and fauna. Kalpeshwar is the only Shiva temple out of the Panchakedars that is open all around the year. This is because it is not covered under snow. It is a very small cave-like temple. Urgam is the base village of Kalpeshwar, near to which this beautiful Kalpaganga river flows. Wow, such clean water! A blue-limbed lizard was basking nearby. The area near the temple is full of beautiful flowers, small birds. We really enjoyed these miniature flowers. A woodpecker was feeding nearby. After truly enjoying the nature here at Kalpeshwar, we started our return journey to Haridwar. All the roads to going towards the main destinations like the Char Dham and Panchakedar and such other routes are made quite wide and much better as compared to the previous years. Railway construction work is also ongoing in this region. In 2013, when the Kedarnath floods happened, the famous temple of Dhari Devi was relocated, and people here believed that this particular temple relocation caused the incident of cloudburst. The temple you see here is the relocated Dhari Devi temple. This is also one of the temples of Goddess Kali, located between Srinagar and Rudraprayag. After a full day long ride, we reached Haridwar in the evening. The next day began with the beautiful sunrise view near the bank of Ganga river from our lodge. We also enjoyed some Haridwar styled street food. The evening time we enjoyed the mighty Ganga river from the Har Ki Pauri, the famous ghat of Haridwar. This is the place where the Ganga Aarti happens after sunset. The water here is quite clean, at least because of the fast flow that it has. And then came the time of the Ganga Aarti, where the ghat was packed with people. With sunset, the famous Aarti began. Next day, before driving to Dehradun airport, we visited Kuchu Pani or the Robber's Cave. Here you have to walk through water up to a small waterfall, and the entire patch is filled with beautiful colorful stones. On weekends, you will find this place packed with tourists. This is just 8 kilometers away from Dehradun. So with all the lovely memories and the amazing positive vibes of this nature, we came back to Pune.